What's up, everybody? I hope you all had an amazing Christmas. The markets are once again at all-time highs, and I'm looking for value. It's getting harder and harder to find here in the US. I am always hunting for new opportunities, and I have two stocks I want to present to you today. Both are new companies. I haven't talked about them before on the channel. I don't own either of these companies. There are concerns that I have, and we're going to talk about them, but there is no denying that these companies look cheap, and they're probably unknown to most US investors, I would imagine. I hope you don't skip the video just because these might be stocks you're unfamiliar with. And if you get value here, subscribe to the channel. If you want access to my website that I'm building right here or my Google Sheet template and add-on, then consider following me on Patreon. Link to that will be down below. Now, let's get into it. And the first stock, as you may have guessed by looking at my sheet right here, is a company called B&M. This is a discount retailer in the UK. They're also expanding in France, but most of the operations are in the UK. You can see what their stores look like right here. It's probably most comparable to something like Dollar Tree in the US. They also own Heron Foods. This is like a smaller grocer. They're not as focused on things like produce, stuff that goes bad very fast. And what caught my eye when I started looking at this company was their margins are quite good for the space. I look at a decent number of retailers, a decent number of grocery stores, and this company, pre-COVID, they were looking at, around 8-ish% operating margin. In COVID, they had a huge bump. We've actually seen this in grocery stores here in the US, Europe, all over. Retailers and grocers did incredibly well in 21, 22, 23. Margins were quite high, probably unsustainably high. They are pulling back now. And the question is, where are margins for this company going to be going forward? Because this company has been growing very well. We see here, revenue just up and to the right. This is mostly due to them expanding their store count. They've been expanding in not only the UK, but also in France. Debt is, in my opinion, acceptable. It appears high. This is in pounds right here. So we're looking at 2.3 billion pounds in net debt. However, actually, most of this is leases. If we just look at the maturities, the obligations that they have, it's a little bit under $1 billion. It's still significant, but considering the cash flow of the business, it's really actually not that bad for a retailer. And by most metrics, this company looks very cheap. 8 times operating income, 6 to 7 times earnings for a company with really quite high margins. These are very impressive margins for a retailer. Again, even if they normalize at 8%. Incredibly high adjusted free cash flow yield. Meanwhile, we see from this stock chart that the price of the company has just gone way down. We are well below the COVID lows, which, back in the COVID lows, this stock then doubled in about a year and a half and then crashed another 50% again in less than a year and then doubled in about a year. And now we're coming down again. So it's basically been a roller coaster if you've been invested in this company. Down close to 70% over 5 years. Doesn't quite tell the full story because they've actually paid a lot of money out in dividends over that time, but still, you're going to be down money. Over the past year, down 55%. Clearly, there is more going on here than meets the eye with just the numbers. So what is this spreadsheet not telling us about the company? Well, first, let's talk about some of the reasons why the stock is down so much. With any retailer, a key metric that you want to look at is same-store sales growth. Now, in the UK, they call this metric like for like, or LFL. And in general, you want to see same-store sales growth at least keeping up with inflation. Meanwhile, for B&M, it hasn't really been a pretty picture. Same-store sales growth was negative for most of last year, was positive for the first quarter of 25. There was a little bit of a distortion due to the fact that Easter was in this quarter. It wasn't last year, so they had a benefit there. Like for like went back negative in quarter 2, and management said that they ended quarter 2 a little bit better than they started, but still, this isn't what we want to see. Now, a bit, I guess, of somewhat positive news. The reason why like for like has been down, it's not because they've been losing store traffic so much as they've been losing the basket size. So customers are coming in, they're just not buying as much. In retail, that's often an easier problem to solve than you're losing your customer base. That's a bigger issue. Now, I should point out there's also been a leadership change over at B&M. The Aurora brothers were running the business for a long time. Simon Aurora was the CEO. They took this company from a tiny business to having hundreds of stores all across the UK, and having him step down, that's a big change. I do have some concerns that the new CEO is not as dedicated to the core identity of B&M, which is really about value. I mean, this is the Dollar Tree of the UK, essentially. Here's a quote from a former employee in this Value Investors Club report. By the way, if you don't know about Value Investors Club, you should definitely check it out. I'm not affiliated with them in any way, but if you just want to look up stocks, Value Investors Club has plenty of great write-ups on tons of companies. In any case, this quote from an employee says, "The stores feel disorganized. Products are hard to find. I think this has gotten worse rather than better under his, Russo's, leadership." The company seems to essentially agree because they put out this back to B&M basics, which is, their plan to get back to attracting consumers, increasing basket sizes, all the stuff you want to focus on as a retailer. I mean, basically all this stuff in here, it's just the basics of retail. But they say under range, lost SKU discipline. Basically, they had a whole bunch more products, too many products. And not only can that make a store feel cluttered, but also when you have more products, that's more costs in your supply chain. As a retailer, you got to deliver what the customer wants, but if you have a narrow range of products, you're typically able to have better margins, keep your costs down, and deliver more value. So for getting back on track, reduce SKUs, clear old stock, reduce secondary brands, focus on big brands. Basically just narrow your focus, be excellent within your lane. Now, also remember how we said that margins have been pulling back here? Margins in 21 and 23, record highs, and now we're pulling back more to, where we were in a pre-2020 world. I suppose management didn't have that in their forecast, didn't have that in their bingo card because they had to revise their guidance here a couple times within the past year. As I'm sure you know, analysts do not like when you bring your earnings guidance down. Now in the US, we call that updated guidance or an earnings revision or something like that. In the UK, they call it a profit warning. I don't know why that name always sounds strange to me, but nevertheless, B&M has had a couple of profit warnings. And in fact, in October, they had two within a month, just 2 weeks apart from each other. So in the summer, they had EBITDA guidance of about 600 some million pounds. Then back in the beginning of October, when they announced this back to B&M basics plan that we were just going over a little bit, they brought their EBITDA guidance down to 510 to 560 million pounds. And just a couple weeks later, they brought that down again. They brought it down to 470 to 520 million pounds. And also on top of that, they said, part of the reason that we're bringing this down is because, we just calculated our expenses incorrectly. That's not what you want to see. The CFO, by the way, is out over this. So management really doesn't have their act together. But whenever there's a dramatic movement in price, this stock is down 35 to 40% since the beginning of October. I just want to take a step back and sanity check ourselves and see, is the move completely warranted? The guidance reflects, roughly 9% EBITDA margins. That's really not far off from the long-term average for the company. We just look up this business on my site here, go to their financials. First, just look at how the company has grown over the past decade. The growth looks really nice. And yes, operating income has come down recently as their margins have been under pressure. If I just put their operating margin onto this chart too and throw it up here with revenue, it looks like normalized margins were somewhere around 7 to 9%. Then we bumped up here to 12, 13% during COVID. Is this company dying or is it normalizing? Cash flow is still very strong. I am looking at these metrics in dollars. Let's throw this into pounds over here. And I realize once I put this into pounds, I probably should change the currency symbol. So it's not a dollar sign, but the sign for a pound. I'll adjust that. Again, I'm still developing this site. But nevertheless, a company that's cash flowing, say 400 to 500 million pounds, if we adjust this down a little bit, is really not expensive for a business that's trading for 1.6 billion pounds. And yes, I know that enterprise value looks quite a bit higher, so a natural question is, what is going on with their debt? What does their balance sheet look like? The actual debt on the books is about £1 billion. A lot of these liabilities, it's coming from capital leases. Now, while that is a liability, this is the rent that you're paying for those locations. This is not an interest-bearing debt in the same way that long-term debt is. And I went into their last annual report. They list out their obligations, their debt, and the maturities right here in this table. This bond here due in July of 25 is already paid off. So this 156 million pound obligation, it's not here anymore. So the total is just under $1 billion. The next obligation is about 3 years off, November of 28, and that's for 250 million pounds. And then we see that they have some obligations in 2030 and 2031. But, relative to their cash flow, the debt is not that large. It certainly fits into what I would consider acceptable leverage. And this is for a company that's still growing. I mean, they talk about expanding B&M to, 1,200 stores in the UK. They're adding 30 to 40-ish stores a year while keeping the leverage to be really quite acceptable. Speaking of adding stores, France was probably the one bright spot of this recent report. They now have over 100 stores in France, and like for like in France, been doing very well. A lot of times with retailers, when they try to expand outside of their niche, it doesn't always work out. It can be a huge black hole of money, and that does not appear to be happening here in France. So, in spite of the obvious issues, given how cheap B&M has gotten, given this price decline, I think it's starting to look interesting. I want to go to our sheet and I want to forecast some numbers for future growth and see what we can expect for a return on our investment in B&M. But before we do that, I just want to talk a little bit about the consumer in the UK and the macro backdrop a little bit. Here on this channel, we typically focus on the company first. What do the fundamentals look like? How are they positioned against their peers? In this case, B&M's margins against their peers, they still look pretty good, even though they've been coming down the past few quarters. With that said, there are things about the economy in the UK that just give me a little bit of pause. First of all, it should be pointed out, inflation in the UK still a bit high. Right now, the headline number is a little over 3%. That does make it the worst out of any country in the G7. And in fact, just to give you a sense of the real effect of inflation, if we look at this chart, this is showing real GDP of the UK in the blue line, and the red line is, it says GDP per capita, but it's actually real GDP per capita. And I don't know if you can tell, but the real GDP per capita in the UK right now is actually lower than it was in 2019. Economic growth in the UK looks very slow, while inflation looks high. Now, on one hand, you could argue poor economic conditions in the UK might help a discount retailer, a store that is targeting value that is about low prices. And that may be somewhat true, but the fact of the matter is retailers and poor economic growth typically don't go that well together. Nominal wages in the UK are growing faster than inflation, which you might think is a good thing for the consumer. We'll talk about one possible negative of that isn't really being covered in the media in a moment. But understand that for a retailer like B&M that has, about 40,000 employees, wages are typically your largest operating expense, and an increase in wages is really going to hit a company like B&M. At the same time, the UK right now is increasing taxes. In a period of sluggish economic growth, they're raising taxes. Payroll taxes, or the NIC as it's called in the UK, which is effectively the equivalent of Social Security. Taxes are increased in the beginning of 2025. We haven't seen a full year effect of that yet. That is going to be a hit to the bottom line for a company like B&M. Also, even though we just said that nominal wages in the UK are currently increasing faster than inflation, the tax brackets actually aren't changing. In effect, this is kind of functioning like a hidden tax increase on the UK working class. If from 2019 to now, your real wage, what your money actually can buy out in the real world, if that is effectively the same, but the nominal wage has gone up, you are now today giving a higher percentage of your income to the government than you were in 2019. And what that means is even if your real wage is effectively the same as it was, about 6 years ago, the actual real value of the money you have in your pocket after taxes has gone down. That's not great for growth, and it's not great for a company like B&M. Something I think a lot of people probably aren't aware of, if you just look at the GDP of the UK, we're not even looking at real GDP on this graph. This is just nominal GDP. The purple right here is government GDP. Close to the entire growth in UK GDP since 2019 has been increased government spending. The private sector has barely grown. That's not sustainable, and that's not a sign of a healthy economy. So overall, I have concerns about the British economy, and I want to keep those concerns in my mind when we forecast future growth and margin numbers for B&M. Top line growth for the next 5 years, I'm putting in 5% growth. They're still expanding. Store count is going up. Do I think they're going to hit, their 11% compound annual growth rate they've had in the past? No, I don't. But I also think over the next 5 years, we're not going to be looking at 2% growth a year either. Operating margins, I think they can normalize to 8%. I think that's realistic. As far as the free cash flow that can come back to us as shareholders, I'm giving them 2% margins here. Their actual free cash flow margin will be way higher than this, but I assume some of it will have to go to building out new stores, expanding in France. I think this assumption here is very conservative. It certainly is a lot less than how much they've paid out to shareholders in the past while they've been able to expand. And as far as a multiple I'm giving this company, I'm just giving them an enterprise value of 8 times operating income. That's what they're trading for right now. This is the cheapest the company has ever traded for, and I'm giving them no expansion to the multiple, no recovery in sentiment. I think these numbers I put in are quite conservative, even considering all of my concerns. And in this scenario, if these numbers come true, you're looking at a 15% annualized return over 5 years, essentially a double on your money over 5 years. Now I'm going to skip the bear case for a moment and just show you the upside for a second. We're going to come back to it. If this company simply grows top line in line with inflation while expanding their store count in the way that they are projecting to, about 40-ish net new stores a year, then, putting 7% growth on the top line would be completely reasonable. If I give them 8.5% operating margins, which is roughly in line with what they were doing pre-2020, I'm not giving them credit for the surge in margins in 2021, 2022. Free cash flow, about a 3% margin there, and I'll give them a 12 times multiple, which for a retailer with better than average margins than their peers, growing decently, expanding store count, I think is completely reasonable. And if those assumptions come true, you're looking at a 37% annualized return over 5 years. This is basically a 5x on your money. This scenario is certainly possible. We really didn't put in anything heroic as far as our assumptions. But now let's talk about the bear case for a moment. And this is where it gets tough when you're looking at a retailer with debt, even debt that's, in this case, I think manageable, but still, if margins fall more than you think, your returns can get ugly quickly. If operating margins compress due to increased taxes, increased cost pressure, B&M has to compete on prices more with their competitors like Home Bargains, so maybe operating margins fall to say 6 to 7%. These would be lower margins than they've seen at any time in their history. If revenue fails to grow faster than inflation, and I'll keep their free cash flow margin the same as it is now, I do think that's fairly conservative, then if I give this company, say, a 7 times multiple, you're still down about 23% on your money after holding for 5 years. I think this is certainly a pessimistic scenario, but possible. The chance of 7% margins look higher than the chance of this company ever seeing 10% margins in the near future. So overall, what do I think of B&M? I think the risk reward looks pretty good. I have a lot of concerns. I just gave you a number of concerns about the UK economy in general, but this stock is getting close to something that I would just consider to be too cheap. Starting to remind me a little bit of Kohl's, a company that we made a ton of money on in 2025. They're both obviously retailers with declining, disappointing same-store sales results that, however, had very strong cash flow. On a cash flow basis, they look very cheap. Management in both cases talking about streamlining the organization, narrowing brands, improving costs. And in both cases, I think it's possible that the market thinks the stock is horrible, but the reality is the business is just mediocre. Or in B&M's case, the business is just decent. You can make a surprising amount of money on just decent or even mediocre companies. So for me, what am I doing here? Again, I don't own this stock. And frankly, right now, I'm just going to do nothing. I think it looks pretty cheap, but frankly, I would like to buy when the price is just absurd. I don't know if it's quite at that absurdly ridiculous point yet. And also, the management is a little bit of a mess. I don't like that. I want someone with some sense to enter the CFO role at this company. And I want to see a little bit of what back to B&M basics looks like in execution. So we're going to be following this stock. I think it looks very interesting. I think the risk reward looks good. But right now, for me, I'm going to hold off on B&M. And I think this video might be getting a little long, so I think we'll end it here. There are some other dirt cheap European consumer-facing businesses that I want to share with you all. I think they look interesting. I think there's value out there. So if you got value out of this video, subscribe to the channel. If you want to check out the website I'm making or grab my template, again, this thing is really easy to use. You just put a ticker symbol in here, you go hit load, and the sheet will do a lot of the work for you. It's going to load a bunch of fundamental information about your business in here, make these nice graphs. You can put forecasting information in to see what you can expect for a return on your investment, get a little description of the company. So if you want to check this out, support what I do, consider following me on Patreon. If you agree or disagree with anything I said in this video, leave that down in a comment below, and I hope to see you all in another video.